We are live. It's real. I'm here. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to this live video. I'm just getting back from a week off, and I haven't really dove into news stories yet. I usually do that before I go live, but today's live, I wanted to do something different. Uh, I'm not feeling moved to talk about news and current events today, so I'm going to be sharing something a bit more personal. For the first time in a long time, I'm going to have a very personal live chat instead of just news and current events. And I promise, news and current events, I will get back to it eventually, probably next week. But this week, I just felt really called to do something different because I've been on this self discovery journey since I was diagnosed autistic. It'll be 9 years ago in September. So now almost 9 years of learning who the heck I am after not really knowing myself for the first 30 years of my life. And I've got a lot of reflections and so a lot of changes and actually some very recent breakthroughs. So I wanted to talk about all that. And also, there are just a lot of new people here. So many new people. A lot of the new people have joined due to the news coverage and things I've been doing, not necessarily uh, because of my autism and neurodiversity work, which was the original launching point, so to speak, for the Neurodivergent Rebel blog, even though it was never just an autism neurodiversity blog. That was just what I started out spending most of my time talking about, and it's been a departure from that, especially since January, and the Orange Menace took power, and we started slipping into a dictatorship, and so I thought it might be nice to talk about something different. I've got different stuff on my mind this week, and so here we are. So now that I've given that intro, hopefully everyone's had enough time to connect. Okay, let me sit back. I need to stop touching the table because it's just going to be vibrating everywhere. That's going to be really annoying to everyone. Um, Thank you all for joining me. I hope you can hear me okay. I live in Texas. I'm in an RV. It's hot. I've got an AC. So you probably are hearing the background noise. I apologize in advance for that, but I'm not going to turn it off because it's hot. And I'm already hot right now. I've got like the vent closed um, because it makes it a little bit quieter and it's still like hot. So it's as good as it gets sound quality wise, I'm afraid, at least until winter and I stop needing to use a fan or an air conditioner to survive. So just putting that out there now. Um, blah, blah. So where did it go? The beginning? The beginning? I think I'm 38 now. I'm pretty sure I'm 38 now. Numbers and math has never been my thing. I'd have to get the calculator out. But 9 years ago, I was 29 or not. Oh, yeah, right? 29, is that right? I think so. Oh my gosh. I'm not the math autistic. I don't fit that math stereotype. Math is not my thing. But we have calculators in our pockets, so we're good. I don't have to be a math autistic. But 9 years ago or 10 years ago, I didn't know I was autistic. I had no idea. Almost 30, and I didn't know I was autistic. Um, and, it's something that when I found out I was autistic, it was really tricky because I would try to share, hey, I was just diagnosed autistic. And people just didn't understand it. They were like, "Oh, well, how can you go almost 30 years of your life and not know if you're autistic?" Like, certainly you would know such a thing, right? Certainly you'd know if you were autistic. Um, but no, I had no idea I was autistic. What I did know was that I was the perpetual air quotes oddball that stood out. I was the rebel. I was different, even when I didn't understand what different was. I was a proud weirdo. I was queer. That's all I really knew about myself. Um, and I also, 9, 10 years ago, before I was diagnosed autistic, I really had this entirely different way of looking at myself when I didn't know the truth about my brain because I thought I had the same kind of brain everyone else had. I didn't know there were all these different ways people can engage with the world around them. I didn't understand there were all these different neurotypes, right? I thought we were all pretty much the same. There was a baseline standard and we all fit that standard, myself included. And so anytime I struggled with something that people around me didn't struggle with. I thought this was just some kind of moral failing on my end that, I wasn't trying hard enough or I just needed to put more effort in and just suck it up, basically, uh, which was not a very healthy way for me to think about myself. But I had picked that up in my life because going about the world, I would try my hardest and do my best in various different scenarios. And people around me, whether those were well meaning guardians, often it was teachers. Teachers were kind of my worst nemesis as growing up. Uh, Teachers, authority figures, I'd do my best, I'd try my hardest. And the response would be, we just need a little more from you. You aren't really applying yourself. We need you to try harder. And this was just like the narrative of my entire life. You aren't trying hard enough. You need to try harder. We need more from you. We need more from you. But the problem with this was I was already trying my best. I was already trying my hardest. I was already putting in as much effort as possible, right? And so, like, your best is literally all you can give. Uh, and I didn't have more to give, but still, people were just like, we want more from you, more, give more, give more, give more. And so I developed into a person, not knowing I was autistic and not understanding why people expected more than I had to give. I developed into a person that was completely detached from their own needs and realities and wants. And I didn't know how to, like, no, just say my best is enough and that's all I can give. I didn't have that boundary where, like, I'm done. I can't give you more. This is all I've got to give. And so I would literally just push past my point of needing to stop, push past my point of exhaustion. I wouldn't rest. I wouldn't care for myself. I denied myself and my own needs entirely because I didn't think I deserved rest or to have needs or to have my needs met because I wasn't meeting the expectations of people around me. And so I thought I was just a crappy person because I wasn't meeting expectations or because, everyone else seemed to be more easily equipped to do things that I was constantly being told should be easy for me. And when I was struggling, people were like, you're just being lazy. You're just not enough. And that internal monologue became like, it went from outside and became in here. And so the voices in my head were always very hostile. Were always like, you're not enough. You're lazy. You're crap. You're a garbage person. You suck. That was what it was like in my head 9 years ago when I was diagnosed autistic. I literally had zero self-compassion, and it was just a constant barrage of self-hatred in here. There was no good thing. Um, and honestly, even before I was diagnosed autistic, uh, at the age of 29, nearly 9 years ago now, um, when I was diagnosed, I had this really crushing realization that was like, I don't know who I am outside of this persona that I've been crafting my entire life, this neurotypical, neuro average mask, this persona that I thought I was supposed to be. I didn't have a sense of self. Like, I had no sense of self. Like, who am I? What do I want in life? What do I need? I don't know. I just know I'm supposed to do this thing. Everyone else told me to be this thing, this person. And I didn't really want to be that person. I didn't relate to the person I'd become. I didn't know who I was anymore. I had no sense of identity. It was the moment, one of many moments in my life where I was broken and shattered to pieces like a bowl on the floor and had to completely rebuild myself. So, people are like, oh, I don't understand late onset autism. It was like, no, this is not late onset autism. I have always been autistic. It's a late onset awareness of my own autistic brain, finding out the truth about myself really late, almost too late because I was not wanting to be alive anymore. I'll say that carefully. And I was planning an exit strategy before I was diagnosed autistic. And had I not been diagnosed autistic, I more than likely would have carried out that exit strategy. Um, and looking back on it now, I have no doubt in my mind. So, that's one really big myth that, if you're autistic, you'll know when you're growing up, when you're a kid, or you'll find if you don't find out until adulthood. That doesn't, so there's another myth. People think like, oh, like if you're late identified as autistic, it must mean that you weren't struggling very much. And that's absolutely not true. And honestly, I struggled so much more because of being late identified as autistic. Um, so it's just, people have this grass is always greener mindset that we don't understand. Like, it's not that I had less struggles because I was diagnosed autistic late in life. It's that my struggles looked different than an autistic person who was diagnosed early in life. It's not that I had a form of autism that impacted my life less just because it wasn't identified. It's that the models of an autistic person back then didn't look like me, right? And honestly, this really was always just so frustrating that I would share like what being autistic was like for me. And then I'd have people, once I started sharing online in my comment section, going by like, oh, well, you're late diagnosed, though. You're not that autistic. Or, you're not real autistic. Real autistic people are like my kid who does blah, 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 blah. And it's always like something like that. If I was a kid, I wouldn't want my parents putting out on the internet that I was doing. It was like, very often like toileting habits and other things that honestly are nobody's business, especially strangers on the internet. But then also they were things that I did as a kid. They're like, they would have known you're autistic because real autistic people do this, 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 and that. And I'm like, I did this, 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 and that. And I'm not going to tell you what this, and that are because it's always this, you can assume anytime you have one of these people that come in like real autistic people do these things. My kid can't do this. My kid does this. I did all those things when I was a child. Yes, I did. Um, and I'll let you guess what some of them were because they're always really like gross and too much information. But so, there's just this ignorance that like adults who are diagnosed late in life, like are less autistic or didn't have struggles as a child, which is absolutely not the case. It's just our struggles will probably look different. Because for me, uh, all the ways I struggled as a neurodivergent person growing up were often blamed on like behavioral issues, and they were treated behaviorally as something that needed to be squished or just like all of these traits were like, we need to get rid of these things, these behaviors, these behaviors, these behaviors. And it always was completely ignoring the fact that my behaviors, and I hate that word, were rising because I had unmet needs. And so that behavior, in my case, was communication, that my needs weren't being met. And in school, especially where I was on this behavior plan, they would do things like take away my recess when it's like I needed more freedom and flexibility to move and get up. And I needed physical movement, regulate myself, more physical movement, not less. Right. And so it was just always very counterproductive to what I really needed as a person. And it just taught me to ignore my needs because other people didn't see them as valid. And so I grew up to be an adult that was completely out of touch with my own needs and my own brain and my own wants and my sense of self because of it. And so, that was just this crisis moment, one of many crisis moments in my life that changed my life forever. Um, and, I was going through this late identification, being autistic, and I was really alone in it because a lot of the people around me at the time were themselves autistic but didn't know it, which made it so much harder to share with people close to me face to face because I would share something related to my autistic experience or a need I had because I was autistic. And people would push back on me and be like, well, I do that. I do that. And I'm not autistic, they would say. But they were. They just didn't know they were autistic. Now they know they're autistic. Now these people that gave me all this pushback when I was newly discovered, newly diagnosed, now know they're autistic, and it's much easier. But it took some of them 5, 6, 7 years or more to get there, and some of them still, well, like cross that bridge, even though it's like, oh, I definitely know you're autistic, but it's not my place to like, it's not my place. I let it be, because a lot of people have this preconceived idea of what autism is and what autism looks like, and they think it's like a child, and I'm like an adult, right? So the presentation is reasonably, as expected, different because I've got all these coping skills. I have had behaviorism used on me my entire life to push me into this neuronormative mold. And they pushed me into this mold so hard for so many years that when I was 29 years old in corporate America, trying so hard to be everything I thought the world and the people of it expected me to be. And I couldn't do it because it was impossible, because I literally didn't have the brain that would allow me to be non autistic. I freaking broke. I broke down. I fell apart. I imploded. I became mentally depleted, physically unwell. And it was this crisis point I reached where I fell apart, and 9 years ago started rebuilding myself again and started on this entire healing journey. And so that was like one of the key moments. And I had another one of these key moments last year, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But let me get on the comments. Vid went way out of sync. It might be an internet thing. Is it better yet? Let me know. I'm gonna get on comments for a minute, and we'll let the video buffer, and let me know if it fixes itself. Blah, 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 blah. Well, let's see. I was diagnosed in January with autism and ADHD. I knew I had learning disabilities, but according to all therapies available, I had compensated for them. I'm now 48, so much is starting to make sense. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like knowledge is really power. And just having that self-understanding is priceless in so many ways, because like for most of my life, I didn't know why people uh expected more of me than I was capable of giving. And because I couldn't give what was expected of me, I thought it was a personal moral failure that I couldn't. Um, and it just really, I internalized that I wasn't enough. That was me. I was not enough. And I had to build myself. ABA is like, the original tenets of ABA is like, there's no person under the autism. We have to use ABA to build a person. Like that's how I saw myself, even without being in formal ABA, because I wasn't diagnosed. My autism was being treated behaviorally. We just didn't have a name for it. Autism, that we didn't have a name for what was being treated. And so, because nobody knew I was autistic, especially in school, I was under this behavioral lens that I needed to be built into something acceptable. And I spent 29 years of my life trying to build myself into an acceptable version. And I never could just exist and be. I could never just be. I was always in this state of constantly like evaluating like which parts of myself are acceptable for this different situation and which parts are not acceptable, and which parts of myself do I need to cut off and like shove away and deny. And it left me with a really big shadow. If anyone knows anything about shadow work and parts work. So I've been doing a lot of shadow work and parts work for the past 9 years. And somatics, because I also learned to completely dissociate from my body and like not having a body, because my body was so uncomfortable because I was constantly exposed to like sensory triggers that were so physically painful, disorienting, and uncomfortable for me, that I had to learn to just like tune out my body, because nobody would let me have sunglasses indoors, for example, or nobody would let me like take care of my need to move and regulate my body. So I learned to dissociate out of my body and not feel my body. Like in school, I wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom when I need to go to the bathroom. So I learned to tune out my interoceptive senses that, like, say so many autistic people have problems with interoception. Um, I don't have those problems anymore with interoception, but we'll get into more of that later. So let me just get back to the comments and make sure the video synced back up. We need more from you. I feel that in my bones. Yeah. And that's just, it's so toxic, because your best really is all you can give. And if you're giving your best and people are like, we need more from you, it's just like, it's like, oh, I'm not enough. Right. late onset. Oh, sure, there were many signs. Yeah, exactly. It's like it wasn't late onset autism. I was always autistic, and I'm always going to be autistic. Uh, even now, like I was in an interview recently with a team in Australia, and we were talking about how, you know, an autistic young person with more support now potentially might not meet the criteria for being autistic anymore. And their parents are claiming that they're no longer autistic because they aren't struggling in a clinically significant way. So they're like, oh, they're not autistic anymore. And I'm just like, that is so damaging. Um, and then I said, you know what? I am most definitely still autistic. But now that I have my needs fully met, I'm supported, I've designed this life around myself to where I am fully supported and I'm not pushing myself outside of like what's reasonable to meet society's expectations. I don't know if I technically would qualify for an autism diagnosis anymore, but I'm not going to say I'm not autistic anymore. Like, and the reason I say I don't know if I qualify for an autism diagnosis anymore is this: clinically significant struggles in one or more occupational areas of life, like friendships and workplace, things like that. Uh, my path is I'm not struggling socially anymore because I've surrounded myself with people who know I'm autistic and like support that in me. And so I don't have a lot of friends. I have a very small handful of people, but quality over quantity, that's not a struggle for me anymore because I've narrowed my circle and they're pretty much all autistic and neurodivergent people and we get it. And so I'm not struggling socially right now. I'm also not struggling as much occupationally because I've been pushed into being a writer and social media and different things where I don't have, like, I'm self employed and I'm the only one putting expectations on me. And so I'm not having to conform to society's norms. And so I don't know if really one would say my struggles as an autistic person are technically clinically significant at this point in time. Does that mean I'm not autistic? No. Like, I'm still autistic. And let me tell you why. Uh, because if I needed to go back to living a traditional 9 to 5 life in an office with fluorescent lighting and all of the additional stresses and pressures that corporate America put on me, I'm pretty sure I'd fall apart and I would start showing clinically significant struggles really quickly if, I had to go sit under fluorescent lights for 40 hours a week. I would start getting really sick, for example. Um, if I wasn't able to moderate and take care of myself the way I have been for the past few years, I'm pretty sure you would see pretty quickly that things could be clinically significant if the expectations upon me were different, right? And so it's like, yeah, uh, I'm still autistic, and it's just like we have a really flawed diagnostic system that if you're not struggling, it doesn't define you as autistic anymore. And so I'd been debating, do I share what I said about, like, I don't know if I technically fit the diagnostic criteria anymore for clinically significant, um, because I'm worried people will take it out of context. Because we have had autistic content creators and people in the past who, when they get their lives in order and they have all their supports in place, they're like, oh, I don't fit the criteria. I'm not clinically significant. Maybe I was never autistic to begin with. I'm not autistic, or they like cast off their labels. And this is really dangerous, in my opinion, because it sets the idea that if you aren't struggling, you're not autistic, and that you must be suffering and struggling to be autistic. And I have a problem with that, right? Like, I seriously have a major problem with the idea that if you are not struggling, you're not autistic. And I think that's only because the medical DSM book only defines being autistic based on an autistic person who is struggling and in distress. And it gives no room for an untraumatized, thriving, fully supported, happy, healthy, mentally healthy, physically healthy, fully supported autistic person. It's like, doesn't give any room for it. And I have serious problems with that. Let's see. Going back to the comments real quick. Diagnosed 53 here 4 years ago. I absolutely hear you. Still trying to figure out how to be me rather than just failing to be what's expected of me now. Yeah. exactly. So if anyone's listening to me is autistic or neurodivergent and late identified, late discovered, late diagnosed, whatever language you prefer, it's all the same to me. Um, how old were you when you found out you were neurodivergent, and how many years has it been since you had that information? And then the third follow-up question is, how has that impacted your life having that knowledge and self-understanding? Has it made your life better? Has it made it worse? I don't know many people who actually, I don't know if I know anyone who said finding out the truth about their brain made things worse for them, but if that's an experience anyone's had, I'd like to know. Um, but I'm just curious to know because a lot of my readers are late identified. And so I think learning at 29 was really late. But I've got readers, like learning at 53, 70s, like all ages, like, we can find out. And so it's just wild to see how many of us were just lost and missed and didn't know ourselves for such large points of our lives. First time I was tested in 1970 did not fit the criteria. Yeah. And so a lot of people wouldn't have fit the criteria before, what was it, 2013, when they smushed Asperger's and PPD and OS and autism and all those other things into one umbrella. And so, like, before 2013, and I graduated high school in 2005, um, I wouldn't have fit the criteria for being autistic either. Like, so many of us didn't fit the criteria as autistic before the criteria was changed and updated. Um, so, like, that's a really serious consideration. People who don't understand autism are the ones who decide that behaviors need to be fixed. Yeah, exactly. I had to refresh it. Okay, so the video is back in sync. Good, good. I felt broken my whole life and learning how to accept myself without judgment and am learning. Yeah, good for you. It's a journey. Like, it is a journey. Um, and that's a journey I've been on for the past 9 years. This trauma, like, not healing from autism, healing from the trauma of being autistic in such a cruel world and not knowing the truth about myself. That's my trauma healing journey I have been on. And it's been quite a journey, and there have been little bits of progress here and there. Uh, and most of the time, it's like really gradual when I'm, making progress. And I'll look back and I'll go, wow, look how far I've come. But this 2 Thursdays ago, like, I had like this really interesting instant shift in my consciousness that has been just hard to even explain. And I'll get into that later because it was just like one day things were very different. Um, and it's just wild that it can be like this. Let me look at the comments really quick. Oh, ouch. My parents called me lazy, a quitter, a bad role model, oldest sibling, and a liar who just makes things up anytime I was close to or in a meltdown. And I didn't have the words to say, I am in autistic burnout, late diagnosed. It's taking years of parts work. Oh, I love that you're doing parts work. In therapy to start separating which beliefs about myself and mine are mine and which are just screamed so often at me, they stuck in me. Yeah. And I don't know if parts work is for everyone, but like, parts work is really what saved my life because last spring, my grandfather passed away, and my grandfather was my person growing up. And it brought up a lot of things. Uh, and I fell apart. Like, the bowl broke once again. Like, the bowl broke and shattered, and I started piecing my pieces back together when I was diagnosed autistic 9 years ago. And I'd been like climbing out of the mental health roller coaster up, up, up. And then my grandfather passed away, and I completely, like, the roller coaster dropped, and I found myself at rock bottom again. And I was having ideation again, and I was just so many things. And I don't want to like go into all of it, but basically, I was not okay for most of last year. There was just, and like our RV travels came to an end. Our RV broke down. We got stuck here in Texas, which wasn't where I wanted to be. Uh, and I realized like a lot of the traveling in my case had actually been running away from things I was not, I guess, didn't want to or wasn't ready to face in life. And so all of a sudden, with no ability to travel anymore, I was just stuck here in my trauma and not able to escape it. And I had to face it. And it was like the hardest year I've experienced since I was diagnosed autistic 9 years ago. One of the hardest years of my entire life. Um, but being stuck in it and not being able to run from it and not just having to freaking deal with it, um, it really forced me into a period of rapid growth and also like not having a full-time job anymore once the Orange Menace took office in January. It's also like forced me to slow down and spend more time like dedicate each day on my healing. And so it's like right now, like I spend a half day work weekdays working, and then the other half day on weekdays, it is literally all trauma work for me. It is parts work, it is shadow work, it is a few different like somatic things to help me like learn to feel my body. Um and there were like little changes and shifts that I started noticing. Like one day, all of a sudden, for the first time, I realized I can see my body in my head. Like when I close my eyes and I move my hand, I can visualize what my hand is doing or my feet. Uh, and I didn't realize until that moment that that's something most people can do, and I just couldn't do, probably because of dissociation trauma. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh, that's why, like, whenever I wanted to like dance or do hoop or anything with movement, I had to literally have a mirror in front of me because I couldn't see my own body in my head. And so now I can see my own body in my head when I'm moving. Like I can visualize what my body is doing. Like I didn't have that interoception to where I could like know where my body was in space. And it's like, wow, that's a big difference. So it's like little things like this just have just been changing in me since I've been doing all of this work. And the other thing is like 2 weeks ago, like with trauma work, you're always like integrating trauma. And so a big part of me, for me, that was a really big problem is I had so much amnesia around a lot of my different childhood events, like, and it was like either complete amnesia or a lot of times like the emotional amnesia, where it's like I logically knew something had happened to me, kind of, but I didn't really have the emotional experience of that event. I just was like, oh, it's the thing that happened to me. It kind of sucked, I guess. Uh, and I didn't really have like all of the details around the things. And I didn't really feel like it was even something that happened to me, which is like a whole nother thing that I don't really want to get into. And so it was like I kind of knew some stuff happened, but I didn't really know because I was like detached from it, which is like I don't even know if I'm explaining that right or if anyone is if I'm making sense. But if you've been doing trauma work, it might make sense to you. If you know, kind of a thing. Um, and so it wasn't just like past memories I had a lot of amnesia around. It was also like throughout my day, I didn't have like a cohesive timeline in my days. Like I couldn't sequence my days in order. Like I didn't know like this is what I did in the morning and this is what I did in the late morning. This is what I did in the afternoon and this is what I did later in the day. And I couldn't like tie all those events together in like any kind of these thing. It was just like all these chunks that were just like no timeline, just spilled like popcorn all over the floor. And I was like, I know these things happen. I don't know when and what, but like, and then it was like also like little clips like you're playing a VCR tape and little cuts and scenes would be just missing, and I'm just like I just have all these little blank spots in my memory, and my memory is Swiss cheese, and this has been my normal my entire life as far as I can remember. So I had no frame of reference um, for it, and like it was just wild because I couldn't even, and it would be normal for me to like have a sentence or be telling a story, and I would forget from the start of a sentence to the end of it, like what I was trying to say or the story I was trying to tell. I couldn't like tell a cohesive story because I would just like clip out and like I'm like, what was I doing? What was I saying? Like all day, every day, just these like, what was I doing? What did I come in here for? What is going on? What is this? And it was normal for me. Um, and it was always interesting because when I would come and have these like I had, my autism evaluation, my ADHD evaluation. They were like, look into dissociation, like there's signs of dissociation. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that for the first part of the journey. Um, and there was these questions about like do you have forgetting outside of what normal forgetting is, or something like how it was worded. And I'm just like, I don't know. This is normal for me. Like, I had no frame of reference for what normal forgetfulness was. Like, even as a kid, it would be like I'd be watching TV and then a commercial would come on, and like, my grandma would be like, "Oh, what were you watching?" I was like, "I have no idea, but I think I really liked it." Like, I just wouldn't remember. Like, and it was just that was normal for me from a young age. And I always remember, like, it was so odd, like, to me that my grandma would be like, "Oh, you're too young for your memory to be this bad." And I'm just like, "What do you mean?" Is it, what? And it was just, it never made sense until recently that it was trauma. Trauma. And so 2 weeks ago now, my brain just did this little shift and shuffle kind of a thing. And it's just wild because my memory is not doing all those little cuts and glitches anymore. Like, and if you would have told me like having a brain like this could be possible for me, like I never would have thought it was possible. Like, so for example, I had an interview with a news team in Australia and I did a live that day. And I can remember that entire day. Like, I can remember driving down there to meet the team, the coffee shop we went to, driving around the square, the issues we had finding location because there was a lot of construction everywhere. Like, I'm replaying a whole day in sequential order, like going to the park. We did interviews, and I did some B-roll stuff, and then I can remember the whole day in sequential order. I used to always space out when driving, and I can remember my entire drives. I do not go on autopilot when I'm driving anymore, which I thought that was just something everybody does, right? Like, they say, "Oh, everyone goes on autopilot when driving." Uh, I don't anymore. My memory is so much better now, and I didn't know I could have a memory like this. It is wild, and I'm just like, I have super brain now. And so, like, this is like the big update that happened. It's like I, fell apart last year, and I really started, doing more trauma work, and it is just amazing night and day how different the experience is in my head. Um, one of the first, it like happened, and I know the day things shifted. I just like felt really different that day. I took a nap, and it was just everything just felt really different. Um, and I'm just like in shock and awe and half of me is afraid, like, is this gonna go back? Like, is this temporary? Like, it seems too good to be true kind of a thing, right? Uh, and the other thing that happened, and that it's like I really like I kept telling David, I was like, it's so quiet in my head. It's so nice. It's just calm. It's just quiet in my head. Like, I had gone from all this negative stuff in my head that I'd picked up, from all the people that had been just nasty to me and told me I wasn't enough my whole life. And that was my, "You're not enough. You suck. You suck." And just all this negativity in my head. And then it like shifted from negativity in my head to like very kind positivity in my head, but it was still like a lot of noise and a lot of chaos in here. And then it was just like, 3 days or like a few days later, I was just like, it has just been so quiet in my head and it's so nice. And I was just like, wow, like I have this peace. There's no racing thoughts. There's just no chaos happening in there. And my brain has been so chaotic my entire life. I'm just like, I feel like a totally new me. And it's just like a me I never thought was possible. And I don't even know what this is, but I'm excited to see where it's going? Let me see. I'm going to get in the comments really quick. Uh, I'm not struggling occupationally because I burned out 20 years ago and removed myself from that so I did not die. Yeah, that's kind of what I did. I was going to work myself to literal death or take myself out because I was just it felt so hopeless. I was gonna die if I didn't stop or change something. And so it was like this crisis, a wake up moment. I had to change something. And so 9 years ago, I started trying to change something and make my life better. After my last corporate job, I refused to work anywhere I didn't feel safe. Good for you. I took a job that pays a little less but doesn't have the same expectations of me. Yeah, that's the thing for me. It's like we live on almost nothing. We minimize what we need to survive. Like we live in an RV. It's like a little dinky travel trailer. It's like a 2012 travel trailer, not fancy, nothing great. Don't even have really good climate control. I'm sweating so much right now already, and it's only like 10 something in the morning. Um, but it's okay because I can get away with not having the corporate job and the big income, although groceries and inflation are killing me because food cost is like literally groceries is the thing we spend the most on right now. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but we spend more on groceries than anything else. It's so freaking expensive just to eat food. But it is what it is. But it's like living on less, a job like, a job that pays a fraction of what my previous job paid, but it brings also a fraction of the stress with it. And honestly, being my own boss, I could be like, that's a stress I'm not willing to take no. And my peace first. And then if I have energy and time, then I can do extra afterwards. But my peace and healing have been coming first. And that's something for the first time in my life, the new way of thinking. Uh, Me too. Happier now and have fewer meltdowns. Oh my gosh, I know, right? The meltdowns. Like I was having so many meltdowns when I was in corporate America. But in corporate America, having meltdowns is really shameful. And so it was like I was constantly like running to the bathroom or to hide in a stairwell or to go hide in my car or to go for a walk outside to have these meltdowns because if I was seen crying or having a meltdown at work, it would be like a big problem for my employer because it wasn't professionalism. And so I had so much shame because it was like every day there would be at least one or two meltdowns. And it's been a while since I've had one. I was like, I know I've had one maybe last month. I had one, but like I can't even remember exactly when the last one was now because it's been a while. And that's normal forgetting. Sorry, I'm really excited because it's like that question always bothered me on any screening about memory. It was like, do you have, you know, memory issues outside of normal forgetting or how it was worded? And I'm just like, how the heck would I know what normal forgetting is if I don't have it? It's such a ridiculous question. Now I'm like, I know what it is now. Thanks to the brain upgrade. 33 in 4 years, best thing I ever did for myself. Yeah. Let's see, last job I had was such a cluster. Didn't realize I had autistic burnout. I had a CEO, CFO, general counsel telling me what to do and conflicting. It was so daunting. Yeah. Good morning. Oh, hi in San Antonio. San Antonio is a fun place. I like San Antonio. You have the best food in Texas, probably San Antonio. Mm. Mexican food specifically, because Mexican food is like my favorite. It's my favorite. Like, oh my gosh, this was the best. Like 2 days ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago. One of our neighbors was driving around with like containers of meals. It was like, hey, you want to buy some tacos? It's like, yes, absolutely. Like, homemade tacos. Oh, my favorite. And like they had the green salsa and it was done right because like you gotta do the green salsa right. And it was like authentic. It was perfect. It was so good. It's like I'm really picky with my green sauce. Um, but it was so delicious. Yeah, but San Antonio, the best Mexican food. Also, you got those pink cactus fruit margaritas, which I'm not much of a drinker, but if I'm gonna have something, I like margaritas a lot, and the pink ones are just a little extra special. I like cactus fruit. It just takes me back to my childhood, running around through the woods and picking those things and eating them because they're used to be everywhere in the woods I grew up in, which are now under a grocery store and a bunch of apartments. And I can't even talk about that. It's going to make me sad. So we're not going to go there right now. But anyway, back to the comments. I can see now I kept going into and staying too long workplaces where the bosses were just like my parents. Now that I'm in a place that provides the workplace accommodations I need, all related to my ASD, I feel for the first time in a job that's healthy for me. Yeah, no, that's seriously a thing. It's like I, when we have like toxic patterning imprinted on us because of these situations we were in in childhood, whether that was like at home with our parents or in school with teachers. Like we mirror those relationships and over again. I mirrored unhealthy relationship my entire life with my romantic partners. I mirrored unhealthy relationships with my like just friends, like friends. They weren't really friends. I didn't know they weren't really friends because I didn't know how to tell when people were being manipulative and had intentions they weren't being transparent about. I didn't know how to keep myself safe. And I totally did. I got myself into exploitive workplaces too. I repeated those patterns in every kind of relationship I was getting into. Um, and I didn't know why. I didn't understand, and until I started doing trauma work and like going back and like getting my memories back and understanding where these triggers and patterns were coming from, like I couldn't get past that part, and so that was something that's like I really had to do the trauma work. I really had to do the shadow work, the parts work, all of that to figure out where all this was coming from, because it was just like I didn't know. I didn't have like, it was like, it's one thing, like, but not having the memories and then having the reactions, but not understanding the memories of where these freaking reactions are coming from, it makes it really hard to get past those things. And so it's been wild. You're absolutely amazing, beautiful insight and empowering, encouraging, and uplifting to others. I try. I really try. Thank you. I want to leave the world better than I found it. And I started this blog 9 years ago now, trying to, hey, Ray, hey, stranger, I hope you're doing all right. I started this blog 9 years ago because, for a few reasons. One, I was really alone and really isolated in learning I was autistic, and there weren't people I could talk about it with face to face because all the autistic people around me were in denial about their own autism, and I couldn't break those bubbles because I didn't know how to talk about being autistic yet. Like, I was newly diagnosed autistic. I wasn't the fierce, powerful advocate everyone says I am now, and I guess I am, which is wild. I need to own that. I'm learning to step in and like owning the things about myself that are awesome, because for most of my life I like couldn't take a compliment. I couldn't, like, I just didn't see myself as awesome, and when people told me I was awesome, it made me really uncomfortable because I was like, no, I'm not, I'm garbage, don't tell me I'm awesome. And now I'm like, when someone tells me I'm awesome, I'm getting used to it. Or like, yeah, I know. And I'm teaching myself to be like, yeah, you are awesome, damn right, and so I'm trying to step into my awesomeness and allow me to be awesome, because we're all awesome in different ways, and society is what's broken, not us. Um, yeah. Okay, comments. I regularly dissociate. It's just a thing I do. I didn't realize I did. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And like, that was the piece that I really wish, because it came up in my autism assessment like 9 years ago. It came up that basically it didn't say dissociation, but they described dissociation perfectly. Like, I was logically aware, or no, logically I was like, I'm not anxious, I'm fine. But then they were like, but meanwhile, your body is having all of these physical sensations of anxiety and you're completely disconnected from it and you don't know what's going on. Like, uh, and that was like a thing that came up in my autism assessment. And then when I got diagnosed, got assessed and diagnosed with ADHD, the same thing, where it was like all the signs of dissociation were there, and it was recommended that I have like a really complete diagnostic screening for all the neurodevelopmental everything and trauma and dissociation. Uh, and I didn't do that because I was just like, that's just too much. Like, I've already got all these diagnoses. I'm autistic, I'm ADHD. It's just a lot, right? Um, and it just kept coming up: dissociation, dissociation, dissociation. And I was like, nah, I don't want to. That's what I needed to deal with the most, because out of being autistic, everything else, the dissociation was, I'm being triggered. and not knowing what my triggers were, or why I was being triggered. Those were like the things that were really hindering my life that I needed to work on. But I was just like in that denial phase, I guess, of things. And I had to get past that to start really growing even more. It has been a while. I hope you're doing all right. I'm glad to see you pop up. I was thinking about you the other day, so that's really good. A few people I've been thinking about recently, like literally you, and then someone else. I was like just wondering about them earlier this week, and then they popped an email into my inbox, and I was like, I haven't heard from you in years. I was literally just thinking about you. Oh, and you're the second one to do that to me today, so it's good to see you pop up because I was wondering about you. Um, my medication definitely has made my brain a lot less chaotic. Yeah, that's good. I have issues with a lot of medications. They just don't seem to affect me the way they affect other people. And then it's like, if a medication has a side effect listed, I'm gonna have the dang side effect. Like, I don't know why my brain just is different. Maybe it's the autism, probably the tism. But yeah, I have a lot of trouble with things from antibiotics to painkillers. Like, painkillers don't do anything for me other than make me sick to my stomach. Although I haven't tried them since I got my new brain upgrade 2 Thursdays ago. So maybe things are different. I don't know. I'm not ready to try. I don't really want painkillers. I didn't need them. I was good at dissociation. If you have a really high pain tolerance, it might be dissociation. Oh, that was what it was for me anyway. I was really good at tuning out my body. Go figure. Um, That's why I decided to create a positive, inspirational, safe zone sanctuary community where negativity is banned. I don't know. It's kind of hard though because like what it depends on what you mean by negativity, right? Because like sometimes like for example last year when I was really depressed and full of ideation again, like I couldn't see the world in a positive way and I needed help. But it seemed like nobody really could see how unokay I was. And that was the hard thing. It was like I was at my worst. I was at rock bottom. And like I guess I was just so used to like acting like everything was fine, even when it wasn't. Like people didn't understand how not okay I was. Except for like it would just be like people would comment like, oh, you're being really negative right now. And people would be really like, pushing me away because I was being negative. But it was like I was really depressed and it wasn't that I was trying to be negative. It's just like everything around me seemed bad. I couldn't find joy in anything. I didn't know how to be happy anymore. And I was like, I need help. But people were like, just stop being so negative. And nobody wanted to be around me because I was being negative. And so I was just all alone with it. And it was really painful, I guess, that nobody was like, we don't have space for you unless you can be happy and positive. And I couldn't be happy and positive. Like that would have been me being fake if I was going to be happy and positive. But I was like in this really, really deep depression that nobody had space for. It just was like, this isn't you. Fix it. Don't act like this. Why are you acting like this? Why are you being this way? This is like you know better than this. Why are you acting this way? And it's like I would like to not be this way. This seems like the actions are a reflection of what it's like inside my head right now, and it's not good. Um, so that was my life last year. I couldn't find my positivity. It's been a while too. That is tough to have a constant negative mind, but nice you managed to have a moment of peace in your mind, which is not easy. Yeah. It's like I was learning meditation like 10 years ago, maybe longer, before I was diagnosed with autistic, long before my autism journey. Uh, it was like, oh, clear your mind. Like, clear my mind. What the heck are you talking about? Like, there was no way I could clear my mind back then. And I actually can clear my mind now for a reasonable amount of time, which is really cool because I never would have thought I could do something like that. And the only way I could meditate previously was like some kind of physical moving meditation where it's like, or like an eating meditation where I'm focused on eating and I'm like thinking about the flavors of the food and I'm using that to stay mindful, or like yoga. I could do yoga and like that was like something that kind of helped me get in my body because it was movement. But like sitting in silence and clearing my mind, no, it would just unleash um a bunch of really unpleasant things. Like I did not want to be alone with myself because it was so negative being with myself. So I was like always trying to distract myself and my feelings because it was so unpleasant to be alone with myself, if that makes sense. So now I'm like getting back to a place where I can really enjoy the peace and the quiet and the calm and the solitude. I've got a repair person coming, so I've got my ringer on. I keep checking my phone to see. I just want to make sure I don't miss it. Be awkward if they like knock on the door and all the dogs go wild and it'll be really loud. And anyway, so I'm just trying to pay attention to that. So anyway, food cost, yeah, is horrible right now. I was a C-level executive paralegal working for an attorney general's office in Florida. Oh wow, that's a lot. I was just about to say San Antonio, great food. Austin too. Yeah, Austin has some good food. Torchies. Urgh. Addicted to the Torchies queso. Oh wow, you were born in Germany, so you put German food. I don't know much about German food. Um, my stepdad cooks German food sometimes because he was stationed in Germany once upon Carne Gisada. Yes, Carne Gisada. Yes, please. Anyway, um, let's see. There's not a lot of price raises in the UK too. It's mostly around housing costs in the UK. About a third of wages go on rent because the landlord, estate agents agreed and hard to save these times. Food is priority and love culture through food. Yeah, I think we play about most people pay at least a third of their income or not more on rent. I'm paying less because I'm living in a trailer uh, on in an undisclosed location, and really in exchange for taking care of some land instead of rent, which is like a nice little barter deal. Because also I get to play around in the dirt and cultivate wildflowers and like just cultivating like 3 acres into like a very like place full of like native trees and plants and pollinators and things, and that's like, oh, this is what I get in exchange for living here? Yeah, okay, because honestly, it's like the best thing ever for my mental health is playing in the dirt. So that's been a nice deal. Totally with you. You are, and we are awesome in our own unique ways. Boring world if we're all the same. Who wants to be neurotypical, which is unrealistic average anyway? I don't even know if neurotypical people really exist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, okay, let me explain. Like neurotypical, I don't know. In the more I think about things, I don't believe it really is like a type of person who is neurotypical, even though people call themselves neurotypical. I'm not going to tell them not to. But the more I think about neuronormativity and like heteronormativity and all these other things, like neurotypical is just this average baseline that we use to describe people that fit within the normative average easily. But this neurotypicalness is something that is relative, like dependent on time, space, culture, place, where you are in the world. So, for example, like what is typical, normative, or average in one country is very different from another, even right now. So, like, not doing the eye contact thing is like thought of as something autistic people do in America. And so, like, it's thought of as like we're not typical in the way we do body language and eye contact. But in other countries, eye contact is not the typical norm. And so that wouldn't be outside of average for us not to give eye contact to people while we're talking. And so that would be within average in another country. And, the same can be thought about like time and space, like in different time periods. Maybe like I think about myself a lot personally, like when I'm out in nature and the woods and I'm like foraging for things and just walking in nature and looking for animals and all of that, like all of my heightened sensory perceptive things that are really disabling in modern society cause me a lot of trouble and stress, like a Walmart, ugh, which I try not to go to ever. We went to one, ugh, it's just like, ugh. Um, but like that, it is disabling in that physical environment that we have created in the modern world now. But like when I go back to nature and in a more like primitive way of being without the fluorescent lights and slowing down my lifestyle and not being expected to keep up with the hustle, the bustle, and the chaos of modern capitalist society, I'm fine. Like, and the things that are disabilities in modern society are actually like skills. Like, I can like see this like special seashell when I'm on the beach because like the detail just pops out at me. Or, like it's just it's an asset more. Like the heightened hearing. Like I'm gonna hear the little animals scurrying in the woods. But in an office, it's like every rustling paper, every footstep, every like it's just like, it's too much. I can't focus, I can't concentrate. But in nature, it's a useful skill. So it's like that's what I mean, like time and place and culture and so many things impact like what's favorable. And I think neurotypical is literally just the average our society has been designed to cater to and support, and that's going to be different in every society and every place you go. And so I'm just like, well, what is neurotypical? That's relative. That's very relative. And so like I have a lot of different thoughts about like what typical is now. Um oh my gosh, I was on 48 meds and I was at the point to grab all of them and had the fire department destroy them. Wow. You got to be careful though getting off a bunch of medications all at once. It can be really really tricky. But good if you were able to do it safely. I just want to say everyone be careful because they can have some effects. Uh okay, I'll stop being depressed after 48 years. Yeah, it's like you can't just switch it off, it's not that simple. I really love your videos and writings. Your YouTube channel was what convinced me to join Substack. I had only knowingly met one other autistic person who was also trans like me, and I felt brave enough to risk possible trolls if I could find others here too, and I did. That's the thing about Substack is, in my experience, I think I've only had to block 2 or 3 people in all the years I've been on Substack. And I, on my Facebook page for the last week, I kind of was like taking time off from news. And so my partner's birthday was earlier this week. And so I took time off to spend with my partner and also like a mental break from being plugged into news because I've been like really attached to the news cycle since January. And it's a lot. It's heavy to follow the news right now in America, especially I'm in Texas. So it's really heavy. So I took a break for a week. And what I did do though is I worked on curating my Facebook space because uh, MAGA people are really horrible, unfortunately, and they like to come harass people. And so I spent a week like putting like bait posts out that would like basically trick MAGA people into exposing themselves so I could block them. And so I was blocking like hundreds of MAGA people every day, like for the last week. And so now the space is really cleaned up and hopefully good. I mean, there are more that are willing to follow and wait to comment, and we'll see. I'll get them as they come. Um, but like, it was really satisfying to just like block all of these people that want to harm my community and be like, bye bye, see you later, bye bye. But yeah, Substack hasn't been that way. It's just been much nicer. YouTube, I've had to block a lot of people on really gross things. Oh, in my safe sanctuary community, you can talk about anything you have in your heart and mind. That's good. Yeah, sometimes silence and being alone is not healthy. Yeah, I was a very lonely child. Like that was like a really big emotion that was sitting on me for most of my life was just loneliness. I didn't even know it was loneliness until one day in my bedroom in a house we don't own anymore. I was stretching and doing yoga. I was doing some kind of hip opener. Darn those hip openers, right? And I just busted out crying because this hip opener shot me back to this childhood memory I didn't really realize I had of waiting for one of my parents, or my mom, to get home from work, and just how lonely I felt. And I just busted out crying, like, oh my gosh, I was lonely. And I felt all that loneliness from childhood, like in that moment when this memory burst through. And that was like one of the very first recovered memories I had. And that was like, I think it was before I was diagnosed autistic or right around the time I was diagnosed autistic. And that was like the first of one of these really intense memories that would just come back to me and flood me with the emotions that I had from childhood that I had never processed. Lots of crying when those memories come. Sometimes anger, but mostly like a lot of crying and mourning and feeling the feelings I never felt back then. Um, but hippo footers, man, hippo footers. Oof. Pilates is what helps me ground back into my body. Also CPSD, so I dissociate often without realizing it. Yeah, I'm also excited to go back. Right now, I'm in physical therapy, working back up the range of motion. It's been limited because the summer I had top surgery. Congrats on your top surgery. Yeah. Oh my gosh, like the body keeps score. Like I get it now. I get it. I totally get it. Like when I had this like trauma integration shift 2 Thursdays ago, like so many things changed. Like one of the first things that changed that I noticed was like my posture changed. Like my posture changed. Like my shoulders came back and like I walk more upright now. I'm not as slouchy, which is really interesting to me. Um, even like the kind of food I eat like changed. Like I started like the foods that were like really unhealthy and not good for me, like candies and things, which I always loved and struggled to give up. Like I don't, I'm just like repulsed by it now all of a sudden. It's just so wild, like what our bodies do when we start healing from trauma. And I'm just like, I want a bunch of fruits, I want a bunch of salads, and I've never like one other time in my life I was like a big fruit and salad person. I'm just like I want fruits, I want salads, I want like things that are like whole ingredients, and the processed stuff all tastes like plastic all of a sudden, which is really wild. But then I like realized like all the like fascia in my body, like I had so much fascia in my body because it was like rock hard from like the holding myself tense all the time and just like the tension releasing out of my body, and just like it's just wild how different everything just suddenly became 2 weeks ago when I just had this like breakthrough moment in my healing. Um, and I hope I want that for everyone. And I don't know how to help people, but it's like there's hope and it's possible. That's all I know how to do because what worked for me might not work for everyone, but it's just amazing. I didn't know I could have so much clarity. I haven't like glitched out once this entire life. I don't know how long I've been talking because it doesn't have a timer, but usually my brain would have glitched out and I would have like forgot what the heck I was doing a few times. It's like no, not happening anymore. Um, oh wow. If you ever need help with financial support, I used to write grant proposals for 28 years, so my resources are completely free. That's really amazing that you know how to write grants. There's a charity I was working with that is really desperate for help with grant writing. And also, I know a lot of people who usually need help with grant writing. That's a really important skill that I don't know how to do. And I don't know, since I don't have Neurodivergent Rebel registered as a nonprofit, I don't know if I would qualify for grants. Goodness, it would be nice to have like more than just me bootstrapping it, trying to get to keep this blog going because I used to do consulting work as my day job and public speaking and give presentations on autism and neurodiversity. And as we all know, in America, DEIA work is so taboo right now that most of my clients are afraid to do it. So my readers have been supporting me financially. I've been selling my shirts. Not wearing one of my shirts today. I'm wearing a shirt that was gifted to me instead of one that I just like I have for sale. But like every season, I'm doing a new shirt with the tagline "Refusing assimilation into neurotypical society." It's a tagline for my blog. And so I've got my summer shirt out right now. I had a spring shirt. I'm really excited about the fall shirt. It's one of my favorites, although I really like the summer shirt too. Um, I need to see where my sample is. They're supposed to send me a sample of the fall shirt. I need to track that down um, because I'm going to do a fall shirt. It's really cool. And so that'll be coming. And then my readers just helping share the content and my Substack subscribers and Patreon supporters. Like you have kept me going because I thought I was going to have to go find some kind of full-time job and put the blog on pause. And I really didn't want to put the blog on pause because right now I think more than ever, uh, what I can do with social media and getting the word out about things and sharing information, and writing is probably more important than it's been in previous years. And so I really didn't want to put it on pause, but survival is a thing we have to do. Money, ugh. We need money to survive. As much as I hate the fact that we need money, it doesn't really motivate me very much. I'm just like, is this thing I feel like obligatory need that we have to have enough money to survive. And it's like, I wish I had enough money so I could give it away. It's like, that's what I want to do. I was like, I want to help my friends who are struggling and help my family. And like, if I had money, I'd probably like give it all away. But it's like, that's what I would want money for, is like just have enough to survive and then give it away so that people aren't struggling so much. I hate money. Like, I hate that we even have to think about it. Like, I always have. I'm like, why? It is what it is. Uh, let's see. Back in the comments. Nature, love it. Walmart, hate it. Same. Yes, the eye contact thing is so weird. I was told as a young child to stare straight and look people in the eyes and have a firm handshake. Because I did none of that, so I had to be told. Yeah, the other one, it was like, look at my nose, look at my nose, look at my nose. And then I would look in the eyebrows or the forehead just because I didn't want to do what I was told would look at the nose. I was like, no, I'm going to look at your forehead instead. So like, you learn how to fake eye contact when it's pushed on you, because like, oh my goodness, one of my teachers like did not understand. Well, a lot of my teachers, not just one, but one took it more personally than the others. That it was like, I do not need to look at you to hear what you're saying. And in fact, it's probably better if I don't look at you, because I am making pictures in my head when I'm talking. And so looking off to the side while I'm thinking made it easier for me to think and pay attention. And I could stare at you and pretend I'm paying attention all day, but then nothing is getting in. It's one in one ear and out the other. But I'll pretend to look at you and not learn anything, because that's what you need me to do, because your ego needs me to stare at you. You feel important. Yeah. We got to do better for our young people and future generations. Let's see. Nature's a beautiful thing. Seeing and hearing animals can be quite relaxing and therapeutic. Can be grounding too. Yeah, absolutely. I love, like, that's one thing I do now is like I go out and I spend time walking barefoot in the grass and the dirt every day. It's like one of my grounding activities, one of my somatic things I do. I go sit in the shade under one of my favorite trees and I'll just listen to the wind blowing in the trees, because that is just so soothing, and birds and the animals, and watch the bugs. And we got a lot of dragonflies and bumblebees and different pollinators here. No hummingbirds. I'm trying really hard to attract hummingbirds, and it's just not working. I'm kind of bummed about that. I love hummingbirds. But it's one of the things that is so grounding and healing to me, that I'm specifically making time for every day to go get some nature time, even if it's just sitting in the garden and listening to the birds and the bees and the wind and the trees. Oh, I made a rhyme. But it's so healing. Let's see. Your podcast is absolutely amazing. You are speaking about a subject that needs to be consistently talked about. And wait, where's the and? I lost the and. I have been in therapy for the past 40 years. My psychiatrist put me on 2 new prescriptions that almost gave me a cardiac arrest, so I fired him. Wow. Be careful. That's scary. See, I'd always been afraid to have a professional massage, strangers touching. Yeah, I get it. I treated myself to one before surgery and once recently. And now I want to regularly have one with places, people who are good fits. Lots of research first, doesn't because it does help my dystonia. I have constantly tense muscles. Yeah. That's the one thing that for me has like always been so helpful to me, but often I can't access it because like getting a massage, I really wish would be covered by my health insurance. But it's seen as like a luxury. And it's like, that's actually what I really, really, really need, is like probably once a month massages, like to get that tension out of my body. And I saved up and bought myself a massage recently, because there's a practitioner that is just amazing that I found years ago, but it's probably been like 5 years since my last massage, because I can't really spring to go get my body cared for, get my body work that I need done because even though it's like would be something that gives me so many good health benefits and would help me stay healthy and would have actually helped me regulate, especially when I was like really doing the trauma work, it would have been so good, but I couldn't afford it, and it's like ridiculous that it's not accessible. And like I got, a massage recently and it was so amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this again anytime soon. But gosh, I wish this was accessible to people and not thought of as like a luxury because especially for those of us with trauma and we're holding all that tension in our bodies, like a good like fascial release massage, especially like really, really good. But not available to us. But yeah, constantly tense muscles. Yeah, exactly. Like I've still got some knots here in my shoulders, but those are like that's the interesting thing. It's like I can tell the difference now. Like the tension in my body that is just from sitting over the computer typing compared to the tension that was from always holding myself sore and stiff. Um, but massage is amazing, but it's thought of as a luxury, and it's like something I think a lot of us need to have, and we can't get. That needs to be fixed. So I've heard the body is like a temple. So it's important to eat food that feels good for you. You can feel the difference, for example, when you eat a burger compared to a salad. Oh yeah, totally. I didn't know I had gluten and sugar sensitivities for most of my life. Uh, and I just think back about like when I was a kid and I was having stomach issues. The doctor was like, keep them on the white bread diet. It was like white bread, white noodles, like everything was like nutritionally deficient and full of gluten. And it was like the doctor basically prescribed me something that would literally only make all my stuff worse. So much ignorance. And so that's what I did first is I cut out a lot of the carbs and sugar because my body doesn't process them well. And so like I'd eat like sugar, especially sugar, and like my face would like break out and all these pimples. It was like a sign. My body was screaming at me like, "Hey, stop." And I'm like, "But this is the only thing I want to eat and the only thing I'm craving." Uh, and then when I had this just like breakthrough healing moment 2 Thursdays ago, it was like I had started to incorporate more healthy foods, but I was still like not there. It was like this massive shift where it's like that stuff tastes like plastic now. Can't eat it, can't do it. And I started wanting to go on like regular walks again. A lot of things just shifted. And also it's like, I don't know, before that I started to like doing all the parts work. I started to like treat my body like another part of myself that needed to be loved and accepted and cared for. And so like I started to see my body as like my partner instead of this thing. Because for a while before that I was like, oh, this meat suit. I don't want to have a body. I hate having a body. So inconvenient. It needs to pee. It needs to eat. It needs to do all these things. Ugh. This body. I used to be like, oh, I hate this body. Why do I have to have this physical form? Like that was me. And now I'm like, oh, thank you, body. Thank you for taking care of me. Thank you. Especially considering I was not very nice to you for nearly 30 something years. Like I love you, body. Thank you. Right. Like that's a big shift for me is seeing my body as something I'm in partnership with, that needs to be loved and cared for and deserves love and care. Like, wow, what a different way to think. If you've been annoyed by the existence of your meat suit for most of your life, it's really different. We went from living in balance with nature and how and now we have credit scores and mortgages, right? Like it's that David and I both are frustrated by this constantly. It's just like a constant thing. It's like we have a planet that gives us the gift of everything we need to survive. We could have clean water if we'd stop polluting it. We have food that literally grows on trees. Like money doesn't grow on trees. No, but food does. Why? Why do we have to have money? Why do we have to have credit scores? Why do we have to monetize everything? Like why? No, thank you. I hate it. I hate it so much. Like money is one of many social constructs that I hate as an autistic person. Gender, money, social hierarchies. I don't get it. No, thank you. Why? No, just no. Right? And then they say I have a pathology because I just think the social structures are bullshit. And so I'm the problem because I'm like Why money? Why monogamy? Why social hierarchies? Why? It doesn't make sense. Like, why? And no, but I'm the problem because I'm like over here saying the emperor has no clothes. I think society's the problem, not me. I don't think I'm the problem. I think we can do better. Eye contact. I look at a dot right behind the person's head because no, I cannot do prolonged eye contact. Yeah. Many of us fake it. Money is a funny thing. It can be seen as taboo due to the greed, especially among political figures. However, money is a social construct used to barter by exchange for one item for another. Just appreciate the simple things, really. Yeah, trust issues are hard. Yeah, trust issues were a big thing for me, especially like being able to trust myself for a long time. Like, I think, like, I was diagnosed with social phobia 9 years ago when I was diagnosed autistic, and I was like, ah. I was always like really annoyed by that social phobia label because I felt like it was blaming me for having a reasonable reaction to how people had treated me because people were really nasty to me. And so, in response to being treated like crap by people around me, I became phobic of social interactions with people because like, it was reasonable to be afraid of people treating me bad. Like, I didn't want to be treated bad, so I had a phobia. Um, and like last week, I think it was last week. Yeah. On Sunday, I went to a moon circle, uh, with people I'd never met in a place I'd never been to before. And normally I would have so much anxiety leading up to going to something like this. And then the entire time I would be like overthinking everything. Like, is my posture okay? Am I saying the right things? Am I making an ass of myself? Like, I would just be like, not be able to be in the moment because I'd be so worried about all the little social things. And like, I didn't have any of that. Like, I don't think I have a social phobia anymore, which is wild. Um, and looking back on it, a big reason I had developed a social phobia was one, because people were being really horrible to me. And so I think it was totally justified. But two, because I didn't trust myself to be able to tell if people had good intentions or bad intentions. And I didn't trust myself around people because I had trusted the wrong people so many times that I was afraid I would only trust people who wanted to hurt me. And so it almost got to the point where it was like anyone I trust is going to want to hurt me and I can't let anyone get close to me. And so I was so afraid of like being around people. And like I believe that nobody could possibly like me. Anyone that was showing interest in me was just pretending to like me or acting like they liked me because they wanted something for me or just trying to be nice and didn't actually like me. And so that's like how I believed in my head for like years. Um, when I had this big trauma integration 2 Thursdays ago, like all of that seems to have just like lifted away. And now I can talk to people. Like, I'll go up and say hi to strangers now and tell them I like their hair in the grocery store. This is a new me. I'm a new me. I'm excited. It's wild. I had a massage today and it's part of my therapy since I was in a road traffic accident in my teens. Wow. The injuries ha- I had and I hold a lot of tension in my body. Yeah, I think massage should be just widely available for everybody. It's so important. Ashley, good on you for the fruits and veggies and the healthy foods. I know it's hard sometimes, but that's awesome. Uh, oh my gosh, I'm lactose intolerant, but I didn't know till my late 20s. My parent gave me milk and cheese every day because they love both. And I had stomach distress my whole childhood, but nobody cared. I'm so sorry. You know, that sucks so much. But yeah, I get it because it's like I had migraines, which were basically sensory overload, my whole life. from fluorescent lighting because I was constantly exposing myself to it because nobody knew it was a problem for me. And so it's like I had unnecessary migraines for 29 years until I was diagnosed autistic and took myself out of being exposed to fluorescent lighting. And I almost never have headaches and migraines anymore. Um, it's like, oh, that was entirely preventable. 30 years of suffering, preventable, and like the eating foods that weren't good for me. Oh, all that suffering, preventable. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? I'm not lactose intolerant, luckily though. So milk and cheese are okay with me. Thank goodness. I really like milk and cheese. So good. Oh, you're so sweet. You look very beautiful. Keep up the great work. Oh, thank you. I just want to be healthy. I just want to be my healthy, best self I can possibly be. Whatever that is, I'm open to discovering what my best self is. And I don't really have anything in mind. I'm just going to try to keep doing better and being better and not comparing myself to anyone else. That's my new normal. Yeah, I get IBS flare-ups and have to avoid gluten. Gluten-free and dairy-free is really expensive though. It's foods like legumes, peas, and sweet corn can be triggers. Even apples can bring me up to madhouse can be irritating. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like probably why groceries are probably our biggest cost is because I have to be careful with what I eat. Also, the other things like I have a lot of food sensitivities I know now, some of the the artificial sweeteners like aspartame or aspartamine, depending on what part of the world you're in, like that really messes up my stomach. And that's in a lot of things. Like can't have any gum because even the gum that has sugar usually has aspartamine in it. And that gives me headaches and messes up my stomach, gives me gas, which is really random and unpleasant. So yeah, it's like in everything. And then like there's like some like artificial dyes that bother me. I'm like really sensitive to things. And so like getting foods that don't have those things in them is more expensive. Getting whole foods and not processed foods is more expensive. And it sucks that just like taking care of your health and wanting to be healthy is so freaking expensive. Yeah, healthy food is not cheap and cheap food is not healthy. It's all effed up. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've been told recently wearing green tinted sunglasses can help with lighting, but why is it so bright? It doesn't need to be. Yeah. It might not be green for you. It's like every person has different colors that might be good for them. Like for me, it was amber colored glasses that helped me block out that fluorescent light. And so that was what it was for me. So you might try a few different colors and see uh, if it works well. There was a place I used to get glasses, Zenni Optical, and I haven't ordered glasses in a lot of years. I don't even know if they still exist, but they had or you could get different tinted lenses, or even like little clips that put on your glasses that had different tints. And so I had like a bunch of different colors I tried because they're really cheap to like see what helped. And so it was like pink and like amber colored was what helped me. Back when I was a lot more sensitive. Now that I almost never expose myself to fluorescent lighting, if I have to go into a store for like a short period of time that has it, I can handle it now because like I guess my threshold when I am not max out is higher. But like when I was under those kinds of lighting every day, when I would go into a grocery store, it was like I could not get my grocery shopping done before I would get sensory overload and have to get out of there sometimes. And like, especially when you get to the checkout where it's all the beeping scan guns and all the chaos, uh I would sometimes have to like excuse myself and let my partner finish checking out because I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I gotta get out of here. I can't handle it anymore. And that hasn't happened in forever now because I am staying within my window of tolerance. So I'm okay to do things short term. But if I had to go to that grocery store for 40 hours a week every day and be under that fluorescent light, I would fall apart. I'm fairly certain of it. I've been waffling on for well over an hour at this point, which means it's going to take a long time for this video to process so I can upload it. I I appreciate everyone who tuned in today to listen. Um, this was like a really unplanned, unscripted, rambly video, but I just have gone through so much recently, and I just felt like it was time for a personal update. Because I don't know. I don't know who I'm becoming, but I'm excited to see it. Uh, and I hope it gives people hope. Um, I don't know. I just wanted to share because I just feel like I've gone through a lot of changes and I haven't been sharing much on the personal end lately. I've kind of been quiet on my own, working on all the shadow work and the trauma healing and the parts work and the somatics and all the other things. And now I'm doing like this thing with like this like this tapping and this like anyway, it's like this whole like thing. Um and so I'm just like working on myself mostly. I'm really like 5 days a week dedicating myself to very specific like trauma healing and all of that work. And it's been really amazing to have this gift that was kind of forced onto me when I stopped having so much work at my day job. And it's like, okay, well, got a lot of free time. I guess it's time to deal with the trauma. And it's really been the best thing that's ever happened to me, which is really interesting because I wouldn't have chosen this path. Similar to when I lost my full-time corporate job during the pandemic and started doing consulting work and working on my own as an independent consultant and contractor. I would never have chosen that path, but it was the best thing, one of the best things, one of multiple best things that ever happened to me in my life. And funny enough, this shift where almost all of my consulting work, I do have one client on the book between now and September. I'm one client. That's it. Um, but it's the best thing. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me again, which is wild. Like my past self couldn't have possibly even believed it. Like, it's always interesting to see like becoming a version of myself that my past self couldn't have even conceptualized would possibly exist. And it's exciting to me. And, I'm really grateful to every single one of you who's been here on this journey for the past 9 years, or whether you've just joined recently through the political work I've been doing and the current events posts I've been doing and all of the other things. Like I'm really grateful for you. Um, all of you have been really instrumental in my journey, whether you realize it or not. You cheer me on, you give me good advice, you help me think of perspectives that I might have missed otherwise. And I'm just really grateful. Um, yeah, thank you all so much. I'm going to sign off because I'm getting hungry and I can listen to my interoceptive sense that's telling me I need food now. So I'm going to go make myself a food and take care of my body because my body is my friend and my partner and I love it and it needs this part of me needs to be nourished and sustained. And so I'm going to go honor that and feed it. Go eat something yummy. Yeah, I'm gonna go eat something yummy. I hope if you are hungry or if you haven't had something yummy today, you also have something yummy. Stay hydrated. I'm gonna finish this coffee and then actually do some proper hydrating. Um, but yeah, I will post the replay when it's done processing. Since I've been rambling for an hour and a half now, it's probably gonna be a while before the video is ready to be posted because it has to like process and then I have to review it and then have to post it. The replay will be live on Substack, whether you're a free or a paid subscriber, if you want to go back and rewatch if you missed anything. And the rewatch will also probably go up on YouTube. That's another place I post them. I don't really engage actively on YouTube because it's just not such a happy community like Substack is. I love the community over here on Substack and on Meta on Facebook. The community is really great too, just because I'm able to lock it down and not let people uh, stick around if they have bad intentions because comments can be locked. And so that's mostly where I spend my time here on Substack and in my Facebook community as long as I have it until they take it away. So that's where you can find me in the meantime. And yeah, thank you to everyone, whether you're subscribed on Substack, either you're a free subscriber or a paid subscriber. Those paid subscribers really do help, being that I don't really have a day job anymore. thank you for everyone who's been able to subscribe as a paid member because you're keeping this blog going. The same thing goes for Patreon and everyone who's bought shirts from me. Stay tuned because the new shirt will be coming out soon. And just thank you for everyone. Whether you're commenting or sharing or just being in the community, thank you for being part of my little world. I'm so grateful for you all. I will see you next week. I'm going to be writing a post tomorrow on Substack. I think I'm going to be writing about personal experience with childhood religious indoctrination into the Christian faith and why religious indoctrination, specifically teaching young people to believe something without being able to question that belief. There's a difference between indoctrination and teaching, very different things. And so I'm going to talk about the harms of indoctrinating children into religion. Indoctrinating, not teaching. We can teach children about things, but let's not indoctrinate them. So I'm going to be writing about that tomorrow, and my personal experience with that, just unpacking some trauma. My blogs are very therapeutic for me. So writing is my therapy, and I share it with you, and hopefully it'll be therapeutic to you as well if you enjoy that reading. So that'll be coming soon. I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. So much love. See you soon. Bye. Come on,